Shalom, this video is about explaining the phenomenon of Jewish day school education. First, a story, an anecdotal story about my own life. When we were little, my parents sent us to a Jewish Orthodox school on the south side of Chicago. It was the only Jewish day school around. Even though they weren't Orthodox, they wanted us to get a solid Jewish education. Almost all our friends were upset with them for abandoning the public school system. Now, of course, what happened over the course of time, by the time we graduated, almost all our friends were sending their kids to Jewish parochial schools. We then moved north and finished up at Solomon Schechter, and I was in the first graduating class. The school was very small then. It had 14 kids in my 1978 grade. Now there's about 100 per grade. It's really changed a lot. They have a huge, beautiful building, two of them in Chicago. There's been an explosion of conservative day schools called Solomon Schechters around the country. There's also some reform schools, many community schools, and of course, a huge number of Orthodox schools. In Skokie itself, we have a wide variety of Orthodox Jewish day schools. And then there's been a growth of high schools. There's even a boarding Jewish high school in North Carolina. Chicago, besides having the Ida Crown Jewish Academy, which is Orthodox, and a boys' yeshiva in Skokie, now has a flourishing conservative day school, which is in Deerfield, has a big new campus. So what's happened? Well, first of all, there's a general movement towards recognizing the importance of more market-based education. We have charter schools and magnet schools. People are constantly worrying about how to better improve the public school system. The voucher program is touted about, and I think Jews recognize that the issue about living in a diverse world is really a non-issue, because in today, unless you live in a ultra Orthodox Jewish community, you live in a diverse world. You work in a diverse community. You have non-Jewish neighbors. You encounter non-Jews all the time. Many younger and younger people have more and more non-Jewish friends. That's really not a significant issue. The other issue is having a solid Jewish foundation, and with many parents unable and unequipped to provide the kind of Jewish learning and Jewish environment at home, the responsibility falls more and more on the schools. So just contrast what can happen in a Jewish setting where you have predominantly Jewish teachers, where the cultural atmosphere is Jewish, there's blessings recited at meals, there's Hebrew spoken in the halls, you have a typical day has Hebrew and Bible and Jewish learning and laws and customs and communal prayer together. That just is a completely different atmosphere. The alternative to no Jewish education is, and the reason why we call it day school education instead of parochial, which is what the Catholics use, is to contrast the concept of day school with afternoon school, where Jewish kids who get a Jewish education not in parochial schools go to regular school during the day, and then for 1 or 2 or 3 afternoons a week, they go to their synagogue or a community Hebrew school, and they learn Hebrew and Bible. You know, they're tired, their friends are all in after-school activities, they resent being there. It has not been that successful an experience. In fact, the joke is, you go to Hebrew school, I hated Hebrew school, and you're going to hate Hebrew school, people say to their kids. Now, there obviously are some fine Hebrew schools, and they do the best they can, but when it's got the roadblocks and the obstacles which it has, which is the timing of the day, how tired the kids are, it's not enmeshed in the curriculum the way private schools are, the way day schools are, it starts out at a competitive disadvantage. And overwhelmingly, the kids who get a Jewish education outside of Orthodoxy get them in these supplementary schools, which usually consist of a weekend day, either Saturday or Sunday, Shabbat or Sunday, and then a certain number of afternoons during the week. And of course, over time, because of pressure of parents and the general culture, the amount of hours devoted to the supplementary education has been decreasing. So many people say they used to go 4 afternoons a week plus weekends, and then it got to be 3 and then 2. And the Conservative Movement United Synagogue, for example, now sanctions schools that have 2 days a week programs. It used to be a required minimum of 3. All kinds of challenges. And then there are some Reform synagogues and other programs that have a 1 day a week program. To get kids to go beyond bar mitzvah is itself a challenge. There's the old joke about 3 rabbis who are complaining about the bats in their synagogue. The first one says, well, we had bats and they were interfering with our worship, so we called an exterminator and he drove them out and we have no problem. The second said, the bat problem was so bad we could never resolve it. We finally had to demolish the building. The third one said, oh, we had no problem at all. We gave the bats a bar and bat mitzvah, and then they disappeared. We never saw them again. Well, fortunately, that's not true for all kids. Some kids do continue in their Jewish education. That's one of the reasons that synagogues have started confirmation programs, borrowing that from the Christian church to try and keep kids until they're 16. But for too many, bar mitzvah, even for those who go to Jewish education, and many don't, the bar mitzvah signifies the end. So the problem there is you've got an adult whose Jewish learning stopped really at the age of 12 or 13, and that's what they remember. Now, one of the bright spots has been college, where now there's been an explosion of college courses, so kids can take Hebrew and Jewish learning. My son goes to Indiana University, and it's amazing the amount of Jewish education at Indiana University. So, in any case, that's a little bit about Jewish education, why the day school movement has exploded, but still represents a small number of Jewish kids. And obviously the main barrier is money. It's hugely expensive to send your kid to a Jewish parochial school versus public schools. And especially when the economy is having a tough time as it is now, it's much, much more difficult. So there have been some efforts to raise substantial endowment dollars, but so far has not succeeded in driving the price down to where it's manageable for many middle-class families. So that's quite a challenge. But that's really the central issues, I believe, framing parochial education. And I believe on a qualitative level and quantitative level, the education is far superior Jewishly. And the kids who are going to the Jewish high schools are having no problem getting into the top universities. I'll just give you one example. I used to administer a test to my 10th grade students. There were 100 questions on the test. And the day school graduates from 8th grade who continued in our confirmation program and then took this exam used to score in the 90s, 94, and in the separate Hebrew component scored close to perfect. Whereas the best scores in the afternoon school children, would be in the 60s or 70s. Or in the main group was even much less. It's just so much less you can do and learn in that kind of environment, let alone the emotional impact. And I'll close with this little word of Torah from Hanukkah, with the holiday that's coming up while I'm filming this, which I think makes the point. The word Hanukkah is based on the Hebrew root chet nun chaf, which is derived from the word chanech, which in the book of Proverbs means to train, like you shall train your child in the way they should go, and when they are old they will not depart from it. But it also means education. So the Department of Education in Israel is called Misrad HaChinuch. So you have, what is the difference then between train and educate? And then you have the word Hanukkah based on the same root, which means to dedicate. And the goal of Jewish education is we want to train the kids, of course. We want to educate them. But we also want to inculcate Jewish commitment and values. And that's best done in the parochial setting.